we have to be able to talk about really hard shit with our partner and not get defensive about everything.
Welcome to What I Love About Sex, where some incredible guests and I, Steph Kanowski, will be bringing you the tools for improving your sex life with topics such as sex issues with your partner, sexual self-confidence, premature ejaculation, sexual shame, masturbation, sharing your fetishes, orgasmic pleasure, and more. Sex is still so taboo, and I personally believe that by improving our understanding and communication skills around sex, we can enhance our own self-pleasure as well as deepening our long-term romantic relationships. So listen in, try to stay open-minded, and let's get started.
Hey guys, welcome back to the What I Love About Sex podcast. So I am in Andrew and I's office, and he's on the balcony outside, and there's a window that connects the two. And I looked at him for literally 2 seconds, and he looks at me right away and like caught me looking at him. And I'm like, I feel like a creep because that happened 10 minutes ago too. And I'm like, I swear I'm not just sitting in here staring at you. Or maybe he keeps staring at me. I don't know. It's funny. Okay. So I have an interesting topic for you guys that I'm curious to know what you think. Let me know on Instagram or let me know on YouTube if you see this posted to YouTube, this podcast, because I'm really curious. So I watched this couple who have their own podcast called Give It To Me Straight. Their names are John and Alex. And they have listeners submit situations they're dealing with that they want feedback on. They want John and Alex feedback on. So the recent submission was a woman saying, hey, John and Alex, my husband has gained a lot of weight in the last year. We've always been fit people, but last year he put on like a donut gut. And I've tried my best to be gentle and to understand, and to point out that he's, hey, like you put on some weight. Like, is there anything I could do to help? Like, can we get back to the gym? And you want to go on a run with me? She's like making effort to get him back into a healthy lifestyle. And he's kind of just, his reaction for the last year has been, yeah, I know, I need to go. Yeah, I need to go. And I'll change my diet. But she said nothing about his diet has changed and he hasn't gone to the gym. This woman said that they've always been fit, and they've even discussed that if they ever got really out of shape, they wouldn't be as attracted to each other. And I get that because personally, fitness is a really important part of my lifestyle too. And I could never be with a partner who wasn't fit and sharing in that healthy lifestyle. So this wife brings up to her husband the fact that she's not attracted to him. She's having a hard time feeling attracted to him. And it's not so much just putting on the weight, but it's him losing like his drive. He's not the same person he was because he's saying he's going to do things and he's not. And this isn't the man she fell in love with, clearly, right? So his personality has changed along with it, and he's showing like zero motivation and just not being the man he used to be. So when she told him that, his response was something like kind of extreme, like, you're my enemy or something. They didn't talk it out. He just kind of got defensive. And now she's like, John and Alex, what do I do? And she's getting a lot of shit in the comments. It's like, oh, love should be so much more than a body. And you're fucked up for saying that. And he's probably depressed, like, and you're calling him fat, or like you're body shaming, like just all this stuff where it's like all this stuff thrown at her. And I was like, whoa, the way I see it is that could she have maybe had a discussion about, like, I've noticed you've been putting on weight and you say you're going to go to the gym, but you're not. And your diet has not changed at all after you said you want to start going back. And I'm confused, and I want to be there for you because I feel like something's wrong. Can we talk about this? Like, how have you been feeling lately? Is everything okay? Having that conversation about his mental health, how he's feeling about life in general and what things are stressing him and leading him to eat. And by having a conversation like that, it might open up a window or a door to maybe some big underlying issues that she had no idea about that now she can support him in. I think it's really easy for us to skip that step as a couple. Like we get to the point where we're treading so lightly and kind of walking on eggshells at something. And then if it keeps up for long enough, we freak out. And it's like the point of no return. Like we say something we know we shouldn't have said, and it came across the wrong way, and maybe it came across judgmental because we missed that crucial step of genuinely like checking in on our partner instead of holding everything in until we just explode and say the wrong thing. Based on what I've heard, I think that this conversation was missing. And if it is, I think it's just the most important part, because to go from saying hardly anything to you're overweight and now I'm having a hard time feeling attracted to you, like that's a big leap, you know? And but I don't think it's a bad thing that she told him that. I think it just probably came at the wrong time before she had a conversation about his mental health first, or checking in first and trying to work something out with him together first. But I feel really bad for her that she's getting all this hate in the comments. Not just feel bad, but I don't think she's in the wrong, because for people to think that marriage is just this thing where once you sign up, you should be stuck, like, and your partner doesn't have to put in effort anymore, or like they don't have to stand by their word of what they told you before marriage. Like, I don't think that's fair. And I think it's important for us to have the understanding that just because you're getting married doesn't mean it will not end. Like 56% of marriages end in divorce. So there's more likely a chance you will get divorced than you'll stay married. Like, it's pretty crazy. And so many people look at it like, yeah, once we're married, that's it. You know, but that's not it. Like, your partner could leave you. Like, nothing is ever set in stone. And when you feel like something's set in stone, you get comfortable. Maybe you slack off. You don't feel the need to impress your partner anymore. You don't feel the need to be as disciplined as you once were when you were initially attracting your partner. We put in so much effort in the beginning to attract. And then once we are exclusive, or in a marriage especially, we feel like entitled to this person when that's not the case. And yeah, this is why it's like the more I think about marriage personally, the more I'm like, why? Like, why even get married? Yeah, I don't see a big benefit. It's just putting your relationship in the government's hands. It's just a legal thing. Like, that's all it is. You know, I've been watching Jim Sexton videos, who's a divorce lawyer, who's also a really good friend of mine. And he's been blowing up on YouTube and everything recently. But the more he talks about marriage and prenups, and just his main question is, what is the problem that marriage solves? Like, what is marriage actually solving? And I think it's so ridiculous that, you know, people will say, well, hear that you're dating, myself included. I even have this judgment because society just trains us to be this way. But like, you'll hear someone has been dating for 7 years and you're kind of like, oh, come on, put a ring on it. What are you doing? You know, and it's like, what? Like, why do we have that reaction? That is so weird when you think about it. And then, of course, they get married and it's like, when are you having kids? Like, chill the fuck out, people. Like, let people just live their lives and enjoy each other and have their own rules. Like, it doesn't involve you. Like, why do you give a fuck? And it's just made me think a lot about, why do I even really want to get married? Because what problem is it solving? Or is it only potentially causing more problems? So yeah, I also always admired Goldie Hawn and, what's his face? Oh my God. Goldie Hawn and her partner from Overboard. They were in Overboard together. I have to look this up. Kurt Russell. Oh my God. Love them. Love them. And they've been together and haven't been married for years. And they just, you can tell. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, on Instagram, you can never tell, but like, you can see the subtle detail of their love for each other when you see them on a video. Like, it's just, anyway. So I'm like, they're very happy people. I think another celebrity couple is Eva Mendes and what's his face from La La Land? Ryan Gosling. They're not married. Yeah. So anyway, I'm getting on the topic of marriage, but going back to this couple, it's possible that this guy may have depression, maybe dealing with something like depression or anxiety, but he needs to get help. And in order for him to get help, he needs to be called out. And that needs to come from his partner. Who better, I shouldn't say needs to, but who better for it to come from than the person who loves him most? So I do believe this conversation is very important for her to tell him, like, hey, I'm noticing this about you. And I know this is what we talked about before we got married. Like, we know how important fitness is to us. Is it still important to you? Or is there something else going on? Like, talk to me, share. How are you feeling? Are you stressed at work? Men often don't feel comfortable sharing a lot. Based on my experience working with them and being with men throughout the years, it's like until you really like are there to open them up and help them open up and show you want to hear them. So yeah, I don't think she's in the wrong for feeling like she's not attracted. We're humans. Like, we have things that we crave, like we desire certain things, we have attraction. And when it's something that your partner can control, it's more frustrating, right? Because it's like, okay, they say they're going to do it, but they're not. Like, that's extremely difficult to deal with, from her part. And we don't know what he's dealing with either. That's very difficult. But even if like the tables were turned, I was in, I shared with you guys how I was in a similar position when I lost my boobs and then my energy and then my motivation for life and work. And like, I became like a different person when I got sick. And Andrew shared with me that he was, it was difficult for him to be physically attracted. And he even said to me, like, this is difficult. I don't know what to do. Like, and I'm trying to figure out what is best to do about this. And that was hard for me to hear. Like, that was very, very hard because I've never heard that before in my life. And in the moment, I didn't know really how to take it other than feeling like, you know what, I would feel the same if I were in your shoes. And I would. So I think that to understand where your partner's coming from and to know that they love you and to have a partner tell you something like that in a way that shows, I care, I'm just struggling with this. I'm not sure what to do. Like, can we talk about it? Is the most important thing. And I know that's what Andrew did with me, was like, I'm going to figure this out, but I want you to know. And the only reason why he wanted me to know was because I noticed his behavior changing around me in multiple ways because he was hiding this secret. And it was not good for our relationship, him hiding. So although it was something that he never, ever wanted me to know, ever, he finally told me when I was like, what the fuck is wrong? And I had to be a strong enough partner to say, okay, I understand and I love you. And this is so hard to hear, but I love you and we're going to figure it out. And we have to be able to talk about really hard shit with our partner and not get defensive about everything. We also need to know how to talk to our partner so that they are less likely to get defensive, right? Because if Andrew said to me like, well, you're just fucking ugly right now. Like, that would be a whole nother reaction. I wouldn't even know. I would have no idea what to say if he said something like that. But because of how he worded it, the tone he used, I saw his emotions being involved in it. Like, I knew he cared and felt horrible. I just knew it. I've never saw him get that like emotional about something. So I knew it was real. I knew it was hard for him to say. It was hard for me to hear, but we stayed with each other. And I hope we can always do that because there's going to be more things that come into the picture that throw us off and And if you can expect that and expect to not always be everything to be great and rosy and dandy all the time, like, then you can be prepared. And, if anything, that conversation between us led to so many other conversations. It led to me picking myself up and really, dusting myself off in a way and being like, okay, it's time to make a few changes and just realize how I'm impacting my partner based on my mood that's coming from my pain and what I'm going through and et cetera. But there were changes in me. There were changes in him. I had to meet with friends and have conversations. I went to events to try to help open my mind to figure out, how to handle this. Like, there was a lot of work that had to be done. And because of that work and because of our continued conversation, we got to a point where now I'm basically healed. I'm post-surgery, my fat transfer, and it feels like there's never been an issue, because we worked through it and we did everything that was possible to work through it. I'm not saying Andrew and I are perfect, but for the most part, I see us trying all the time. I see us continuously trying and coming from a place of love. And I think that if anything, the reason why this guy called his wife his enemy is maybe because there was a lack of sensitivity or a lack of empathy coming from her tone in the conversation, bringing up his weight. And I think maybe the lack of checking in on him mentally and having that type of conversation before bringing up the attraction piece was probably what led him to snap a bit. But I don't know the full story. Maybe she did try to talk to him about his emotions and he said everything's fine, as a lot of men do, right? When they're questioned about how they're feeling and if they're struggling with anything. So who knows how the story actually went? I just know based on what I've heard that I think we have a right and we should tell our partner when we're losing attraction based on something they can control and something they say they're controlling, but they're not. And falling out of integrity with the person they are. Like, I want to be called out by my partner when he's feeling something that's breaking us apart. Like, we're a team. If we're struggling, I want him to be like, hey, I'm struggling on my side. And then that tells me I have to pick up a heavier load of the relationship, or we have to have discussions to figure out how we're going to fix it. And then we have to change our ways and take action towards fixing it. But we both have to do it. But if one of us doesn't say something when something's wrong and we stay quiet, even though we know something's wrong and we're not telling our partner, who is that helping? It's not helping you as a team. It's hurting you. It's not going to help at all. So we can't be afraid to be like, oh man, I'm feeling this way. I really need to tell them. Go for it. Tell them. Because you do really need to tell them if something's off. I'm sure it took courage for her to share that with her husband, because that is not an easy conversation. It's not easy to be like, you're not attractive to me anymore. Attractive. So I feel for both of them, but I think it's an important lesson that we have to be honest with our partner, no matter how painful it is. And when we share that honesty, we have to do so from a loving place and a supportive place. And make sure that just because we share something that's difficult doesn't mean that means we're still on the same team. And you want to follow up with that difficult thing but how can we work on this together? But I love you, so I want to fix this. But I love you, so I want to help this. I want to do something about this. When you could be honest and show support, then your partner feels like you got their back. Like, no matter how hurt it was when Andrew told me that, when I was dealing with all the health stuff and I was just not in a good place mentally or physically, I appreciated him being open, because then we were able to fix it. If he wasn't open, we'd probably still be struggling right now, and it would cause tremendous stress and anxiety in our relationship. I don't think it's wrong to tell your partner you're falling out of attraction for them. I think you have to, when that's the reality. And then you talk about it, you find a way to fix it. I think it was a good reminder for me to always share the hard things, even if I'm afraid of hurting my partner's feelings. As long as he knows I'm always in it for us and I'm doing it for the best of us, and it comes from a place of love and support, then it's the best thing for us. So I hope you can remember that too. And if there's something right now that's weighing on you and you feel like you're holding back from your partner, not saying something, it's time to say it. And like I said, if it's a weight thing specifically, make sure that you're showing support and have that supportive conversation first about like, hey, I noticed this. I know this is what you really want. I want to be there for you. And sometimes it's reminding them of who they really are and who they want to be. And I think that's why I really love the question that Andrew and I give. Our number one question on our relationship check-ins is, are you living the life you want to live? Like, are you doing everything you can to live life the way you want to live it? And that helps us remind each other of who we're striving to be. So if we fall out of being that person, then it's very easy for one of us to be like, hey, you said you don't want to do this. Like, are you sure you want to go through with that? Because it comes out of our mouth. So if we're called out by our partner, it's not that big of a deal because we know that we remind our partner of who we want to be on our check-ins that are like once a month or every 2 months at this point, probably every 2 months. That keeps us to a certain standard. And it could be for anything. Andrew tends to crave a lot of junk food or sweets. And if he tells me he wants to start only having sweets on the weekend, then if it's a Wednesday and he's like, oh, I really want to order this, I'm looking, and he's like looking to order ice cream or something, I'll be like, babe, didn't you say you only wanted to do that on weekends? Like, come on, put it away. That's a weekend thing. Let's do it on Friday. And it's like that comforting nudge of like, hey, remember you said you didn't want to do this? Let me help you follow through with your word since you're feeling tempted and low willpower right now. Let's put that away. Let's eat this instead. Here, look, I'm going to make it. It's like we got to get used to being comfortable calling each other out. Otherwise, I don't think we'll survive. That's just my opinion. All right, guys. Well, that is it. I hope this episode was helpful. Don't forget, you can apply for one-on-one coaching. The link is in the description of this episode, wherever you're watching it. And have an amazing morning, evening, or night, wherever you are in the world. Talk to you soon.